Tonight's cover story, we're looking into the cost of gun violence. It's an issue impacting many communities, but beyond the physical and mental impacts, there's something you might not consider: the price tag. So first, let's get into Charlotte crime stats so far for 2023. On June 2nd, on National Gun Violence Awareness Day, CMPD gave some statistics. At that time, 2,300 people were victims of firearm-related crimes. Of those victims, 426 were juveniles. Now to the cost. The total cost is higher in North Carolina compared to South Carolina, but per capita, it's the other way around. These numbers include multiple things, from police investigations to pain and suffering experienced by the families. We're on your side tonight, looking into how much is covered by taxpayers and how one doctor is treating the outcome of gun violence while advocates are treating the cause.
I'm a gun violence survivor.
Not a day goes by that advocate Keith Smalls doesn't think about his son.
I didn't get a phone call and said he was in the hospital. I got a phone call and said he was dead. This is not what you want.
His child, only 17 at the time, gunned down by a 15-year-old. A normal day for Smalls now involves checking in with his clients every morning, who he's hopeful to free from the risky environments that he finds them in. What led to his son's death and the death of so many others comes with added costs in addition to the high price already paid with their lives. Gun violence in America causes an estimated $557 billion in expenses a year, with taxpayers on the hook for $371.9 million, according to the nonprofit Everytown Research.
There was a bunch of kids, and all of a sudden we heard a bunch of gunshots, and everyone started running.
To the ones we don't always hear about. More often than not, we hear something like this.
Charleston County deputies say a 17-year-old is expected to be okay after he was shot in the hand Saturday night in Hollywood.
But that's only part of the story.
And the reality is that some of our patients that survive have totally life-altering injuries that change their lives forever.
And that doesn't come without a high price tag either. Medical bills, follow-up care, lost wages, plus the cost of law enforcement investigations and the judicial system all add up. According to the same research group, that means each South Carolina taxpayer pays an estimated $2,700 each year in relation to gun violence, the 10th highest cost per resident in the country. Even the loss of quality of life can come at a cost.
This is a problem that impacts everyone in some way, shape, or form, even if they don't realize it.
Dr. Ashley Hink is a trauma surgeon at the Medical University of South Carolina and sees the worst of the worst day after day in the operating room. In 2022, the hospital treated at least one gunshot wound a day. Not all patients ended up in Dr. Hink's OR, but many did.
The overwhelming majority of injuries that we see are assaults. It runs the gamut from community violence, drive-by shootings, interpersonal altercations, intimate partner violence, youth-on-youth violence.
For years, she's found herself treating the symptoms, but not the cause of her patients' injuries. So she founded Turning the Tide, a violence intervention program at the hospital to do just that.
And she was like in the guardian angel. Her name was Keith Smalls, and I did this. I started crying.
Smalls, now a client advocate for the program, channels his grief into his work. He's often right there at the bedside of some of the youngest victims right after they've been shot.
11, 12, 13.
Gun violence is currently the leading cause of death for children and young adults in the country.
So many of our patients, victims, don't want the situation that they have.
It's not supposed to be like that, though.
Turning the Tide advocates aim to fill the gaps where gun violence victims need support the most, addressing modifiable risk factors that can make people susceptible to the violence.
The doctors are doing life-saving, emergent medical care, and we do soul care, we do heart work.
Advocates like Smalls and Catherine Yetman may help bring groceries, drive kids to school, provide access to resources, and set up job interviews.
It doesn't matter what you go through.
A client who agreed to speak to us while concealing his identity said being connected to an advocate after he was shot felt like destiny.
Can't let it beat you down. And with this program, it's basically like it helps anybody that need that chance.
Putting victims on a path to success can help reduce both their risk of violence and the people around them.
Once somebody has been victimized, they're even more likely to be re-victimized. And over a 5-year period, they're most likely to die by homicide.
Program Director Krista Green says their nonprofit runs on about $350,000 a year.
That is a drop in the bucket compared to the millions of dollars that we're spending here locally on every shooting, on every homicide.
The program reports success stories after only its second year, some of them continuing to stay with the advocates who work with the victims every day.
I've got a letter that I keep above my desk. He writes, "I'll never forget about you. Your kindness gives me hope and confidence."
Had I not been there, had this program not existed, he would not have gotten what he gotten, which is what he deserved.
But this costly problem can't be solved alone. To find a solution to an issue as persistent and complex as gun violence, these advocates say, like emergent surgery, it's all hands on deck.